Hey YouTube, what's up? This is the one and only the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, and you're checking out a special edition of Unchained with yours truly. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with our Unchained series, basically it's a YouTube exclusive and it gives me the opportunity to really go outside of wrestling and entertainment talk and really talk about topics that kind of hit close to home, whether it's in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, or something that's happening in other cities, other states, stuff that usually does not get covered on the RCWR show or Impact Showdown, as primarily it's geared towards wrestling, entertainment news. And it really gives me the opportunity to feel unrestricted and just say whatever is on my mind, as unfortunately I have to keep it PG friendly when I do the RCWR show, Impact Showdown, on Blog Talk Radio and over at our sister website at Infinity One Productions. Not to mention, we have responsibility to sponsors, so don't really want to say something that could be a little bit too sensitive to certain people's ears. But YouTube, no restrictions. So I really hope you all appreciate this series, as from time to time we'll definitely be talking about stuff that pretty much jumps out there at me and share it all with you. I think it's a really cool way to get to know a little bit more about my personality, what kind of gets under my skin, what kind of gets me going. Try to make it be a little bit more interactive with you all. So let's go ahead and let's jump right into it on today's episode on July 28th, 2012, just a little bit after 9 a.m. So, in case y'all are not aware, we had this really weird psycho in the Annapolis, Maryland area, so really close to home over here where I reside. As I sat up and I just found this news really disturbing. We had this guy who sat up and he was arrested for, get this guy sat up and he basically threatened to blow the brains off of his employer, shoot, kill his employees. All this because he was losing a job. I bullshit you not. You can't make this shit up. For those of you that might have not heard about this guy, as again, it happened locally in our area, we'll definitely give you the 411 so that you have a better idea what it is that I'm talking about. And folks, this is just really freaking sick. So we got this guy by the name of Neil Prescott, 28-year-old guy. And if you have not seen the pictures of this guy, when you see the pictures and you hear what all he did, you're just going to be able to put two and two together, and you're just going to say some really foul, jacked up stuff about this guy, and you're not going to be doing it out of spite, I promise you. Just to give you an idea how this guy looks, he's a pretty heavy-set white guy, glasses, he has serious acne, he just looks really bad skin. He just looks really freaking creepy. He looks like one of those type of guys you would see working at Chuck E. Cheese that like really hates his freaking job, and he is just he's just ready to pull a Columbine or some weird sick shit like that. But anyway, this guy, he made multiple threats to his ex-co-workers at this software mailroom supplier company that he had worked for. And basically he was going around wearing this t-shirt that says, "Guns don't kill people, I kill people." And he considered himself to be the Joker. And again, he wanted to see his boss's brains splattered on the floor. That is exactly what he said. Now, police, they caught this guy and they believed that they had foiled his plans of possibly creating another scenario where we could have seen a Aurora, Colorado massacre, as this guy was dubbing himself the Joker and he had an arsenal of semi-automatic rifles. And he threatened to shoot up the business of which he was being fired. Now, he's a Maryland native, and luckily the cops, they were able to quickly identify this guy. They had a search warrant. They went in there and they seized him at his apartment, where they found several thousand rounds of ammunition and about 2 dozen semi-automatic rifles and pistols. They found handguns. I mean, this guy had his own freaking armory store. That's how many freaking weapons this guy had. And it was just really freaking creepy because, this guy was sitting up, and he basically took the news the wrong way about him getting ready to lose his job. And he just decided that he was going to take it out on a bunch of people. And I'm just speaking from the heart here when I hear crazy shit like this. Now, this guy wants to sit up and trip over the fact that he's getting ready to lose his job. Yeah, we get that. It's a tough economy. Bad things are happening right now. We constantly hear the stories of so many families that are breaking up. We hear so many stories about married couples that are breaking up because the economy has just been so rough, and that they aren't able to stay together, and families fall apart, homes fall apart. It's difficult times right now, and it just seems like within the past 3-4 years, it's becoming more harder and harder to find a job. And it's almost coming down to the case of who you know, not what you know how to do, not how your resume looks. Nowadays, it seems like it's really boiling down to who are you friends with? Who do you know that can definitely put in that word for you and get you through that door? Now, this guy, 28 years old, this guy definitely should have known better. And just to show you the type of guy that he is, knowing right from wrong, when he would put those threats out there to his supervisors, not once, not twice, but multiple times, as he would tell the police later, one of the times that he made the threat, he tried to sit up and say, oh, I was just joking around, whatever. That's a crock of shit, especially after the tragic events that had happened in Aurora, Colorado. No, 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 no. You're not going to be able to just walk away off of that, especially when you're walking around with a shirt saying that. Now, that shirt speaks loud volumes, unfortunately, because, we have some people that like to walk around and they like to express their love of what it is that they like. I can remember several years back when I used to work at this warehouse deep out in Virginia. I wore a WWE shirt from Shawn Michaels back when he was pushing that whole don't hunt what you can't kill. And it just so happened that I was working in a warehouse where all kinds of meat were sold, all kinds of seafood was sold, and I could remember one of my supervisors coming up to me saying, hey, management, they just pulled me to the side. You need to take that shirt off. I said, really? Why? They said, well, they think it's a little bit alarming. I said, yeah, but this is the trademark of a Christian wrestler who just so happens to like hunting. And they were like, yeah, but I don't think they really are grasping that. They just care more about the customers. You got to take that shirt off ASAP. So, I could understand where they were coming from. So I hurry up. I took the shirt off. I didn't really make that much of a big deal out of it. And, when you see shirts like that, or maybe you might see a woman walking down the street and she might have a shirt on that says, I love BBC. We don't really need to go into, graphic details about that. We pretty much know on the down low that she likes Chocolate Brothers. But, it's one of those type of deals where when you wear a shirt like what this guy Prescott wore, you're literally speaking out loud that you are not quite right in the head, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm sure for every single 50 people you would line up that would look at that shirt, at least for every 50 people, at least 45 of them, 40 to 45, would probably sit up and say, something's wrong with that guy. Let me stay the hell clear of this man. Now, keeping everything that I said about the economy and how tough it is to lose jobs, I can understand if this guy had a little bit of trepidation, if he had a little bit of, oh man, why the hell is this happening to me? This freaking sucks. But you know what? Life goes on. I can honestly tell you, a little bit before I had got the website and my company up and running and the radio show up and running, there was this one employer that I was working for as I was trying to get all this up and going. And I could remember this boss, he would hit me up on my days off from work. And he would say to me how, hey, is there any way you could possibly come in? I need this, I need that. And, and I told him at the time that he had hired me, I said, I'm unfortunately, I'm tied up with my other job right now. I'm trying to work with my staff. We're trying to get everything up and running. No, I can't do that. And eventually it had got to the point where this employer was trying to figure out a way to get me out of his company. Now, keep in mind, this is a guy who is sitting up signing my paychecks, and he hired me. And he was trying to figure out a way to get me out because he didn't like the fact that I wasn't submitting to him 100%. Bear in mind, I was showing up for all my scheduled shifts. I was coming on time, more than on time. I am a little bit woo when it comes to time management because I am just so on point. If I need to be somewhere at a specific time, I try to be there a half hour or more early, just in case anything weird happens. I don't play around when it comes to time management. It's one of my little pet peeves, and I get really irritated when somebody is late. If you're late, I will be quick to say, you obviously don't know how to budget time management. I'm very quick at that. And, I'm doing everything that I can in my power to make sure that I'm showing up and I'm doing my job. I'm doing what I need to do, just like I would with all the other jobs that I've had the pleasure of having over the years. As I bring it, I give 120%, not 80, not 90, not 100. I go 120%. And, I could remember this one night that I had sat up and I had came to work. I had basically got fired over the phone. I know, really jacked up, right? And it turns out one of the managers, they didn't like the way that, I was dressed. They said my presence didn't look of standard. And basically, no bullshit, folks. Basically, my shirt wasn't buttoned up and it wasn't tucked in. That was it. And because of that, I was fired. And you hear this, right? And you say to yourself, well, surely if this guy really appreciated your work, he would have sat up and he would have tried to defend you. He would have tried to see if maybe you could have got sent home for a day suspension or whatever like that. And, that would be the end of it. But no, this guy just, oh, okay, you want him fired? You want Lee fired? Okay, no problem. And so, yeah, I show up at like 1 o'clock in the morning for my shift. And keep in mind, I was relying on Metro at the time. And I got fired. And I let my boss have it. I say, you know what? I said, this guy that you work for, this client, you got him. He's got your balls in a vice. You're letting him sit up and sabotage the good employees that you do have the privilege of coming across. You not getting a backbone and, coming to defense for your good employees. I really hope this doesn't come back to bite you in the butt because, seriously, this is bad business. And I told him, I said, coming from a guy that's trying to start his own business, and at this point, this guy that I worked for, he had only been around for just barely 5 years. Okay. And I let him have it. I told him, I say, from one businessman to another, if this is how you run your business, I'm kind of happy that I'm not working for you anymore, because I would never do that to the people that have the opportunity to work up under me. And I've had the privilege of having people work under me. I try to be fair. I try to be very lenient, even with the current staff that I have right now, helping me with the website, helping me run the show. You all have heard about Zed and co-producer Tammy, how they're usually running around, they're doing their thing, trying to help us out with all that stuff. And, I'm pretty laid back and reserved. I let you know what I need, when I need it done. If I need to critique you or correct you, I don't come at you in a bashing type of way. I pull you to the side, I break it down to you just like that. And so, I let him have it. I was pretty upset. Don't get me wrong, folks. I was pretty upset because everything was just starting to come around. Everything was just starting to take off. And I got hit with that bombshell. And at that point, I was pressed for the money because I needed the money to make sure that the flow was continuing to come in and get everything up to where it needs to go. So I was pretty mad at this guy for a good minute. But, I sat up despite how upset I got. I said, okay, you know what? All things happen for a reason. This is just one of many jobs that I've had over the years. I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to do what I need to do. Just chalk this up. We know that I wasn't in the wrong. Just chalk this up. He's going to get what's coming to him. And that's not me saying, I'm going to do something. It's just karma, folks. When you throw out the bad karma, it has its way of coming back like a boomerang and just getting you right in the ass. And that's just how I felt with regards to that. So, I moved on, and hey, I'm able to sit here before you guys today and tell you about that learning experience and how it helped shape me into the guy that I am right now. And, hey, if I had to do that all over again, if it would get me to the point of where I am right now with a pretty successful radio show and a website that's really catching a pretty cool reputation, I would do it all over again. The point that I'm making is we all go through those employment periods where we don't like our boss, we don't really like what the hell we're doing, but we're trying to find some type of common goal. We're trying to find some type of a way to sit up and say, okay, we have to keep doing this because it's what's keeping a roof over our head, it's what's putting food on the table, it's what's keeping clothes on our back, our kids back, our families back. We got to suck it up. It's called being an adult. And if you're a man, if you're a man, it's called being a man and doing what you're supposed to do. Layoffs happen all the time. People get fired all the time. It's nothing personal. It's business. One-on-one course, folks. You learn that early on. The average American will go through probably about at least 30 different jobs before they hit the age of 40. Just enough to finally find the right type of job that they've always wanted. It happens. The statistics are there. It's a well-known freaking fact. So for this guy to sit up and really take it as personal as he did, I mean, this guy is just freaking beyond insane. I mean, this guy really should have just chalked it up, do like millions of freaking Americans do when they find out that they're about to be let go, or they are let go from their employer, which is you sit up, you go on Craigslist, you go on monsterjobs.com, you go on snagajobs.com, you go on Facebook, you do whatever you got to do to get your name out there, you get your resume out there, and you sit up, you dedicate 2, 3, 4 hours a day putting in your resume with employers, faxing it, making sure that that phone rings at least 3 times a day. Hopefully they're calling you to let you know they want you to come in for an interview. And hey, you can follow up on that interview. Hey, maybe, who knows, you get a job. If you work at it diligently at the rate that I suggested, you should be able to get employed before the month is out if you're really going at it that hard. Okay, it's understandable how most employments are nowadays, as they will pretty much tell you go online to fill out an application. Okay, that just gives you more of an excuse to save what little transportation money you have, right? And then sit up and just spend you don't even need to be in front of the computer all day. All you need is like 3-4 hours. Post your freaking resume online, fax it. The phone should go off the same fucking day if you get a head start at like 9 o'clock in the fucking morning. So, I'm really picking up from this guy that he was just really mentally disturbed, and he was just looking to cause damage, and he got inspired by what he had saw from that James Holmes guy in Colorado with the Batman shootings, and he probably said to himself, that's really freaking cool, I think I'm gonna do that. And I mean, this guy had so many freaking weapons, he would probably put the Punisher to shame. I mean, that's how many freaking weapons this guy had. So really glad that this guy had got taken off of the streets, and last we checked, looks like he's getting a emergency mental evaluation. Hopefully that goes the way it needs to go, and the guy is just put away for a very long time. Great effort by the police in Maryland. Really glad that they worked so quickly and diligently to get this guy before he could even do harm to a lot of people, because he definitely would have taken out a lot of people, and that's the last thing that we would have needed, because that would have been the next biggest massacre other than what had happened with the DC sniper shooting. So really glad that they were able to work so quickly and take care of this guy. And it just really hits close to home over here for us, because when we heard what we heard of what went down in Colorado, the tone out here, it was a little bit, okay, let's be careful, but at the same time it was, well, it's so far away. And then when we had heard this happen, we're sitting up saying to ourselves, oh my God, first thing we're saying, oh my God, is this guy possibly connected to James Holmes in Colorado? Well, luckily he's not connected. This is just a guy that was just bitter about losing a freaking job. I mean, I could freaking understand it if you and your lady, you have a kid, and the kid is out playing ball on the street, and a freaking drunk driver comes up and runs that kid over, and you're thinking about getting fucking revenge, and you want to kill the motherfucker. You're like, fuck the court system, this guy is probably going to get off. I could understand going a little crazy like that, but over a fucking job, seriously? I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if this guy has never seen a piece of ass in his life. If he did have to, if he did have the luxury of getting a piece of ass, he probably sat up and paid for it. I mean, just the way this guy looks is, and I don't like talking about people like that, because the last thing I want to do is sit up and judge people, because even I'll be a man to admit, I have my flaws, as sure as many others will sit up and say, hey, we all have our flaws. But this guy, he really takes the freaking cake. I gotta be honest with you. So really, that's where I stand with that. And and my message to those of you out there that may be going through a difficult time period right now, especially with the whole job situation, you just lose a job, or you're having a hard time finding a job. Stay diligent is my message. Stay diligent, especially if you have family. Stay strong for them. Never give up. Just keep fighting. Just keep doing it. Be diligent. Keep putting in those applications. Keep putting in those resumes. If the stress is starting to get to you, you know, talk to somebody. Even if you don't have any friends, you don't have any associates, the simplest thing you could do is call a toll-free crisis hotline. Somebody will talk to you. Or you could sit up and you could join a social media website such as Facebook, Twitter, and you can find people that you can talk to, and you can kind of work out whatever frustrations that you might be having. But definitely talk to somebody. You'd be surprised how many random people you would be able to quickly befriend if you go to YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. You'd be surprised how many people you'd be able to run into and be able to talk to just about anything with. So really keep that in mind. And hey, when it comes to the jobs, we're all going to come across a type of job where there's something that we don't like. You would think that because I have my own website, my own radio show, and I got my own little company going, you would think that I would be on cloud nine. There are some things that I just do not like that just has me sitting up late at night going, God damn it, I hate this shit. But I come right back and I say, hey, I love what I'm doing. I always find that common ground. So you may not like what's going on with your current employer, whether it's, oh man, I don't like the way this motherfucker is treating this person or this person. We all have been there. We all have that boss that acts like a dick. We all have that boss that will sit up and it kind of seems like they're showing favoritism towards certain employees. We all have been there. We all have experienced it. This is my number one message, and it has kept me being a total professional over the years, and it's helping me out now with the current career path that I'm embarking, which is just show up for work. Don't come there looking to make friends. Just come there, do what you got to do your work to the best of your ability, do it at 100%, go hard, go home patting yourself on the back, knowing that you did what you needed to do. If you need to befriend anybody at your employer, do what I always do. Befriend a supervisor, befriend a manager, because they'll be able to see firsthand and take notice of the type of work that you do. And you'd be surprised. You befriend them when times, when push comes to shove and times are rough. Maybe they might need to make some cuts, or maybe they're trying to figure out who they can promote. You'll be one of the first people that they keep in mind, especially if you kind of sit up and show that appreciation and dedication to the work. That goes a long way. But if you just show up being all quiet, being a creepy little bastard, then it's definitely not going to get you that far. That I can assure you. Well, that's going to do it for this installment of Unchained with yours truly. Feel free to leave a comment. Definitely would love to know what you all think of this creepy little bastard that was sitting up doing what he was doing. And, before we go off, I definitely want to just give a shout out to a Mr. Ted Nugett. As much as I used to respect you and your music and what all you did for the rock industry, I just think your latest comments, man, I just think you're really coming off like a fucking dick. I mean, to sit up and have the audacity to say that all those people wouldn't have been killed or injured in Aurora, Colorado, had they all had guns. That is the most fucking stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. If all of them had guns, they would have been fucking shooting in the dark, and they probably would have been shooting at each other. Let's not forget this freaking gunman, James Holmes. He had fucking tear gas or some shit like that. So how the hell were they supposed to see what the hell they were going to be shooting at? I think if anything, Mr. Nugett, what needs to happen is all the movie theaters in North America, they need to take what has happened and Colorado, and they need to take what just went down in the Maryland area several hours ago, and they need to say, okay, we need to take new security measures to make sure that something like this never happens again. Now, if I may add a few suggestions, I think one of the things that needs to happen is maybe there needs to be some type of a metal detector that everybody needs to go through as they're making their way into the theater. I think that's one of the things that need to happen, straight up. The second thing that needs to happen, there needs to be security officers in the movie theater. This needs to be a security guard that will not be distracted by what is playing on the big screen, because they are being paid to make sure that everybody will be safe while they're watching their movie. And the security guards or off-duty police officers, I recommend that there needs to be two at every single movie theater. You have one that is at the emergency exit, as supposedly this is how James Holmes possibly had got in. I'm not really sure about the exact details, but it was said that he had a fire exit emergency door propped open. So let's put a security guard that'll be right there for the entire time, and we can have them do like 12-hour shifts or something like that. Your average movie theater will kick off opening at about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I've heard of security guards that can do 12, 14, 16-hour shifts. If the money is right, I say let that one guard be there for the entire time. If that guard starts to get a little tired, rotate it so that guard could possibly sit down somewhere for a little bit, but have one guard at the fire exit, have the other guard watching the audience, making sure there's nothing peculiar that's happening. You do that all nationwide, then you won't have this problem anymore. I can definitely guarantee you on that. AMC, Lowe's, all those guys, they need to come together, and they need to definitely work on some type of a deal where more safety precautions are taken so that something like this never happens again. Guns on pedestrians is not the answer. That's the last thing that we need right now, especially for those that don't like guns in the first place. If you are putting your hard-earned dollars out there for that movie ticket, and you're taking your child, you're taking your friends, you're taking your family, you should know that that $15, $20, $35 and up that you're paying for that ticket to be able to sit down for 90 plus hours or 240 minutes for that movie, you should be able to invest knowing that your safety is definitely being kept in mind while you enjoy the movie. So hopefully in the wake of this tragedy, we'll see some shakeups like that happen. But Mr. Ted Nugent, the answer is not sitting up and putting a gun in every single body's hand and shooting at each other in the fucking dark, you dumbass motherfucker. Anyway, folks, I just thought I'd put that out there. I know that makes a lot of sense to you all, so really hope you appreciate that right there. We ran into a little bit of overtime. That's going to do it. Going to go ahead and wrap it up now. Do hope that you all have a fantastic weekend. And hey, for you wrestling fans out there, we got a special RCWR weekend report that's going to be coming up in just a couple of hours. It's going to be happening at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. You definitely want to check that out. We'll be going more in depth about CM Punk's recent heel turn from this past Monday night's Raw, and if it'll possibly be a success in helping John Cena get over the anti-crowd, the anti-Cena crowd, and get him back to where he needs to be in the company, which is possibly with that WWE title. We'll also talk more about what's happening with WWE's recent use of social media, such as Toot, Twitter, Facebook? Is it going to be a bit overkill for those passionate hardcore wrestling fans? Will it alienate them to the point where they feel as though they need to watch other wrestling promotions just to actually see wrestling? We'll go more in depth about that, and we'll get you caught up on the very latest in entertainment and music news. So do be sure to check that out. And of course, we'll have a regular edition episode of the RCWR show at its regular day and time this Tuesday night, coming up on July 31st at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific. So do check that out. Meantime, everybody, have a great weekend. I'm, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Till we hear from y'all next time, you all be safe and y'all be kind to one another. Take care, folks. See you next time.